All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Derrick Muhammad Show. I'm your host, Derrick Muhammad, and I have a special guest tonight. I'm so grateful that she agreed to come on the show because I know everybody got time right now since we are quarantine, right? But I know she's been busy. She's a working actress. Let's give it up for my special guest, Diandra Lyle. How are you, girl?
I'm good. I'm maintaining the best that I can.
I know that's right. So how's everything? Now you're in LA, right? What's it like in LA?
LA is, I think LA is doing great in making strides with this whole, quarantine and pandemic. We have really great leaders right now with our governors and our mayors and everything. So we're doing a wonderful job of really trying our best to shut down the public or do things the right way. And the nice thing is, we can be out walking around in our neighborhood because the weather is nice. And
right
across the street, you gotta it's like Frogger, it's a game of Frogger. So, but I'm thankful for that because it could be really cold. I know some parts of the U.S. are cold and they don't have that luxury.
Right.
But LA is just, we're doing what we gotta do just like everybody else.
LA is so beautiful. The weather is amazing there and gives you that energy, which is like, it's just something about the weather, the mountains, the beach, the whole atmosphere and the vibration of LA.
Yeah, it's nice.
Right. So let me introduce my viewers to who you are. Diandra, originally hailing from Des Moines, Iowa, multifaceted artist. She has a vast array of experience from film, television, theater, commercial, voiceovers, and radio to hosting, improvisation, sketch comedy, where she trained at Second City, and she even did stand-up comedy. That's my love right there. Starting her acting journey in the city of Chicago, she starred on several award-winning films and shorts and made her national television debut on ABC Detroit 187 in 2012. She made her way to LA and has been steadily making great strides in her career. In addition to several independent features, a made-for-television movie, she guest starred in a number of popular shows that you all have seen: NCIS, Bones, Shameless, Cold Black, American Woman, Rosewood, General Hospital, my show Young and the Restless. That's my
that's your show.
yeah, and Chicago Justice. And now Diandra also writes and produces, and her first film, Mission Mom Possible, had a 3-month run nationally on a syndicated television series, African American short films. This is what happened when you wear your reading glasses.
No, you're okay. Look, I got right on standby.
Right, and garnered much success on her festival circuit, both nationally and internationally. Currently developing several projects, Diandra looks forward to taking a director's seat in the near future. She's currently she was in New Orleans filming a brand new show for Disney, but she can't say what that is. So welcome to the show, girl.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
All right. So look, let's just ask about your humble beginnings in Des Moines and how did you get, what prompted you to take this journey in the entertainment field as well as being an actor?
Well, you know what, there's no one path. Every story is different when it comes to people in this business. They've come to the business in many different ways, shapes, or form. I didn't do the traditional route. I never planned on being an actor. It was never in my, on my to-do list growing up. I think at one point I wanted to be an archaeologist, and then I wanted to be an architect, and then who knows what else, but
like those A's, though, archaeologist, architect, actor, there you go.
I mean, yeah, they're all A's. Maybe I could have seen that. But I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, born and raised. There are people of color in Iowa because everybody always goes Iowa, and I'm like, oh no, I got a shirt that says yes, there are Black people in Iowa. And we got quite a few. Okay, so I'm from the capital city. I'm not from the country. I grew up there. I went to college at the University of Iowa, and there I got a degree in therapeutic recreation with a minor in social work. So I know most people don't know what therapeutic recreation is. So I'll give you the short of it. It's working with any special needs population. Could be people with disabilities, older adults, people incarcerated, and any special needs population you can think of. And there are different aspects. There's recreation, there's leisure education, and there's therapy. So I focused on the therapy side all through college, and after college, I worked with primarily youth and adolescents with psychiatric, behavioral, emotional, behavioral disorders. That was kind of my forte, what I really enjoyed doing. And then down the road, I mean, at one point I worked with pregnant teen girls and teen mothers in a residential setting. I worked when I lived in San Diego after college. I worked as a team with a couple girls in their home with their family that were considered at risk. And then my last real job before I became an actor, I was a rec therapist at a psych hospital in Chicago. So I led programs for children age 4 through adults, you name it, we saw it. And I loved it. And I just love people. I love the challenge of it. And then, I got laid off and I went to acting at age 30.
Wow.
So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell. It's kind of a weird, like I didn't get a BFA, I didn't get an MFA, I didn't, get classically trained to do all that at 30 and a single mom in Chicago in the city with no family. And I'm like, let's go be an actor.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, so tell us, like, all right, and you auditioned for Second City and you made it?
Yeah, so I found out about Second City when I was working at the psych hospital. I in Chicago. I was working part-time and the whole acting thing. So let me backtrack just a bit. My last semester of college, I had extra classes, extra hours to kill. So I took a class called Black Action Theater. And the teacher, University of Iowa has a really renowned writers workshop program. So people from all over come. And the teacher was a part of the writers workshop. His name is Levy Lee Simon. He's an award-winning playwright out of New York. He actually lives here in LA now. And he was my teacher. And so, a couple different occasions, he was like, you have it, you need to be doing this. And I was kind of like, I'm an only child. I played a lot of Barbies. I got an imagination, but whatever. I mean, it's, I was just taking it to kill hours, right? And then after that, so after I graduated and I moved on and I had my daughter and I ended up in Chicago and at some point the acting thing was sitting in the back of my mind and it was just kind of sitting there.
Laying dormant.
It was just like I couldn't get rid of it, but it was never part of my plan. But I kind of compare it to, you can sweep dirt under a rug and you can keep sweeping that dirt under the rug, but it's not going to go anywhere. Right. That pile's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until you trip over it, right? So it was there. And actually, prior to me moving to Chicago, I went to this open talent thing in Minneapolis and with no experience. And I had agents interested in me from LA to New York, but I was in Iowa at the time. So when I get to Chicago and I'm working as a therapist, somebody told me about Second City. And I wasn't familiar with it, but I looked into it. I ended up training there for a year in the year improv program. And Second City, is like the grand poobah. The Chicago location is the original Second City.
Right, exactly.
So you have them all throughout, like New York, LA, even in Canada, but Chicago's the original. So, all the big greats like John Candy and Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase and all those people went through there, so it's huge. So I did improv for a year and I started while I was working as a therapist. And then I got laid off. And that at that point, when I said, when one door closes, another one opens.
Right.
So, I figured, let me take this opportunity now and try it. So yeah, that's
wow.
I know it's a whole lot, but.
Yeah, but see, there's it goes. So what happened was God probably had to just get you laid off so you go ahead and find what you really should do.
Absolutely. Everything happens for a reason. And I truly believe, you find yourself on paths in life that you didn't foresee and you're there and you're like, wow, I didn't ever think I would be here, but maybe this is where I'm supposed to be right now. And the paths can still change. So, even for me coming into this business at 30 and not having planned on doing it, I knew at that point that, 5-10 years down the road, I may not be doing it anymore. I could be doing something else.
Right.
And that's okay. I think it's just honoring it and taking that chance and walking on faith. And it's there in your spirit for a reason.
Right.
And, why not?
I always tell people, you don't want to leave a stone unturned. Try it. At least you could get it out of your system. If it don't work, it don't work. But you could say, when you're 65 or 85, I used to do that. You live. And you don't have no regrets. No regrets.
I mean, here's the hard thing. I mean, it's tough. And I think, because where are you from originally?
Ohio.
Okay, you're from Ohio. Okay, so you know the whole
I'm a
Midwest.
Midwest guy like you.
Right. You know how it is. So like coming from the Midwest, you know, born and raised in Iowa, and then, you know, I lived in Chicago, and those are, like I said, those, I consider both of those homes for me. A lot of people don't leave, and a lot of people don't take those wild chances on dreams. And, you know, for me, I don't know if I'm kind of like I'm an Aries, and I can be stubborn and hard-headed, and I'm like, well, why not? You know, I kind of look at things like, well, people are like, oh, how can you? And I'm like, well, why can't I? You know, so it's one of those things like, you know, I'm from Iowa. I'm born and raised. I was a single parent in a city with no family, and I decided to go into acting. Like, and that's one of the hardest things that people can do, because there's no guarantees, there's no consistency, there's no stability. And I said, well, you know, I think I could go, you know, and do that. And I would tell people, even when I was living in Iowa and in Chicago, my little thoughts about it. And it's funny because you know, life goes on and you're going through it, and sometimes things aren't happening the way you want it to, or as fast as you want it to, but it's happening. And I have people from my life that are from Iowa, from Chicago, that come back and they go, man, I remember when you used to say you were gonna go be an actor and go be on TV and films, and you did it, you're doing it.
Right.
And so many people, you know, it's amazing to me, like the love and just support that I get from my people. All over, because, you know, I'm not a big look at me person when it comes to my work. You know, I kind of want to be a quiet storm. You're not gonna see me coming, but you're gonna feel me when I hit. I like to just kind of work and do what I do, and just, you know, keep doing that. But I put my announcements out when I have something airing, because I owe that to my people. And when I get these responses from people that say that they're so inspired and they're just so proud, and, you know, it's just like, that fills me up. You know what I mean? That they're inspired, that because they're like, you took that chance, you actually did it. Like, that pushed me to go try something, or I would want, you know, and I'm like, wow, like for me, it was just kind of like, well, that's what I had to do. You know, I had to make that decision, and it was what, you know, I was at peace with it, and I did it. But it's not always easy to do. And trust me, there's sacrifice with that, because I have made my sacrifices.
Yes. And, you know, I always tell people, in order to do something great, regardless what other people think, there is a sacrifice required.
Yeah.
I mean, either you gotta stop eating and go on a diet, stop drinking, stop chasing women, cancel out that spouse or that boyfriend that you had that you don't, you know, you like, this is going nowhere. Let me just There's some sacrifices that you have to make: blood, sweat, and tears, and a pound of flesh. And it ain't for everybody.
No,
it ain't for everybody, but you have to be okay with it.
You have to be okay with it, and you have to use that to fuel you. You know, for me, which I'm an open book, so I'll share all my story with people. I don't always talk about all my trials and my tribulations, but it's all part of my story, you know, and I'm thankful for all of it, because it brought me to where I am today, and it's taught me the things that I need to learn to be where I am today. But, you know, my biggest sacrifice that I've ever made in this journey, when I decided to become an actor, is, you know, I mean, I was in Chicago for a few years when I started, and that's where I kind of, you know, started learning and doing, you know, the short films and commercials and getting my foundation built. But when I had to move to LA, you know, at that time I had a 9-year-old daughter, and for me, you know, this business, like you said at the very beginning of our conversation, LA is no joke, right? And so it's the big pond, it's the ocean, you know. So if Chicago's a pond, and New York is like a lake, it's called LA, you know, and the ocean, right? So you know, in Chicago, you can be a bigger fish in a smaller pond, right? You come to LA, you're a small fish in a big pond, and you got to get in there, and you got to put in that work. And so for me, you know, having a child and coming here, I didn't have family here, and I didn't have a support system, you know, and I knew that I didn't want to drag my daughter through that when I'm out here trying to make it, and I don't know what's going to happen. And so, you know, that was my biggest sacrifice, is I made the decision to have her go stay with her father. It was supposed to be for a year. It ended up being for 2 years when I moved out here. And when I tell you, like, I remember when I made the decision, and I remember I was crying, but I was like, I knew it's what I had to do. And I was at peace with it, right? Even though it was hard. I've been very fortunate that I have a great team around me, including her father, you know, and we're no longer together, but we're a great team.
Mm.
And, you know, as soon as I said it to him, he's like, yeah, tell her to come on, you know, and every child needs both parents if you can provide that, you know. So for her to be able to spend time with her father is priceless. And for her to experience, you know, has stepmother and a little sister to experience being a sibling, there's a lot of beauty in that. So I was really fortunate that that was an option. My mother was even like, she can come with me. So, you know, to have that support was huge. But it was the hardest thing I've ever done because I don't want to miss any day of my child's life.
Right.
And being a mother with a daughter, you know, you feel that kind of that internal, like, man, there's a
I'm not doing the right thing. Right.
yeah, like you don't want to feel like, I wasn't so much worried about what people thought, because at the end of the day, like it was the right thing. Because I think it would have been harder to bring her with me, and it would
Oh,
have been more
absolutely.
sentimental. But and it was temporary, but it was what I had to do. But when I got out here, you know, and I started working, I started doing stand-in when I first got here. 2 weeks after I moved here, a friend of mine was an AD, so he was like, we need to get money in your pocket, you need to work. And so I worked the first 3 seasons of The Real Husbands of Hollywood, the Kevin Hart show.
Yeah.
So when I was on set, you know, Kevin's kids would come to set, or Chris Spencer's kids would come to set, and I would just have to walk away because I would be in tears.
Wow.
Because I'm so, you know, that was hard. That was hard, man. But that was my fuel, you know. So I wasn't out here running around in the streets. I wasn't out here kicking it, because I would doing standing work. We're there 12 plus hour days. You're up when it's dark, you get home when it's dark, and I'm trying to get representation. And that was the first time in my whole entire life I had ever lived by myself.
Wow.
In my 30s, because I had roommates in college.
Right.
After college, I had roommates, and then I had my daughter. And then, you know, my daughter, we had our cat. And then I moved here, you know, and I had a little studio for 2 years. And that was the first time in my whole life, I was in my 30s, that I actually lived by myself. But I wasn't out kicking it. I wasn't out, because one, I didn't really have the money. I didn't need to be spending the money anyway.
Right.
But two, I'm not out here to party. You know what I'm saying? Like, I made that sacrifice to be away from my child. And, you know, I'm not out here trying to play around.
And you know what? That is so dope for you to say that, because that's what I tell people when they say, you know, Derrick, I want to be an actress, or I want to be. I was like, look, it requires a lot, and you got to be you can't go to parties. You can't be trying to get the baller husband.
Right,
if you're serious about this work, you got to be serious about you. And whatever happens, it's gonna lay out for you, because it's in your alignment. For you saying that was so dope, and I'm glad you referenced that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, it's just, but you know, it's one of those things, like I said, everybody has made their sacrifices, everybody had their struggles and their journeys. And just because we don't always hear about them or see them, and we see their successes, it doesn't mean that they didn't go through some stuff to get where they're not going through stuff.
Right.
You know, because there's always, it's this business, you know, is a roller coaster.
I think Taraji, she had the same issue. Like, she had a child too, and then she was trying to be an actress, and she had to, you know, I think she sent her child with her mother, and she was just getting it on. So, you know, let me ask you this. So when you got what was your first big show that you really said, yeah, this was worth the risk? What show was that?
I mean, honestly, it's not any one particular show or project. Mm-hmm. It's just continuous steps. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, there are so many victories that are small that are actually bigger than the big victories. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Yes.
Some of my biggest victories are not bookings.
Right.
You know, it could have been going up for a huge role in a major film, and I didn't get it, but I was a finalist. And to me, that was huge. Or getting, you know, to test for a project, or, you know, getting a recurring role, you know. So there's so many different types of victories and things that, you know, are significant to me. So there's not any one particular thing, but, you know, when I got to LA, the first 2 years were basically starting over, because nobody knew me, and I didn't have, you know, agents, and I have, you know, a manager. And I knew that coming in. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. And I think, you know, that probably helped ground me a little bit. And so those first 2 years of doing stand-in, which was bittersweet, you know, to be behind the scenes, and you're like, I want to be in front. But I'm so thankful, because it made me a much better actress because of it. You know, after I was done with those 2 years and I brought my daughter back out with me, and here's another trust fall to the universe. I'm big. I like to share these little things because I know I'll probably ramble. You're like, yeah, we'll talk for 20
that's all right. Go
yeah,
ahead.
hours. But you know, when I brought my daughter back out with me, I still wasn't where I wanted to be yet. But it had been 2 years, and I was like, I'm not going past 2 years without bringing her here.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped doing stand-in work at the time, and I was making really good money doing stand-in work. You know, it forced me to join the union because I was SAG eligible already, but it made me join the union. I was getting great money, but it wasn't forever. And I couldn't work those hours with the child. I can't work 12 plus hour days, 5 days a week. And I'm not gonna sacrifice my kid for this business.
Right.
So when I brought her out in August of 2014, I was like, man, I think I had just got I had a manager. Maybe I had just got my commercial agent, and I didn't have a theatrical agent yet. And I remember I had a couple people say, man, boy, how you going to do it? You're going to bring her out here. What are you going to do for me? I was like, I don't know, but I got to bring her out. And I brought her out, and I kid you not, within a few weeks of bringing her out, I booked a commercial. And then I booked a voiceover, which I had been trying to break in Chicago and couldn't. And as a result of the voiceover, I signed with with a really high level voiceover agent with no demo because I didn't have a demo. And then a couple months later, I booked my first guest star. And within that year, I booked like 4 or 5 guest stars.
Wow.
And it was really crazy because it was like, once again, I stopped doing stand-in. I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I brought her out. I don't know what's going to happen. And doing that trust fall to the universe. And then I got my agent too. And then things just aligned, like you said,
wow.
aligned. So
Man,
all those things, to answer your question, there's no one particular thing.
Right. It was small victories.
It's all of it adds up into, and I would say I haven't made it, but I'm making it.
Yes.
It's a constant process.
Yes. I think that's beautiful because a lot of people think, okay, you just got to hit a home run out the park. But you saying, no, I got base hits.
Oh, yeah.
I got base hits until I walked on into home. You know? And you had enough faith and commitment that you said, you know what, I'm not going to go past 2 years. Whatever happened, I'm going to get my daughter this. And the universe opened up and gave you what you needed.
It absolutely did. And that's kind of a running theme that I believe, things happen for a reason. I believe everything happens the way it's supposed to, and it happens in its own time. I truly believe you can't fight or force things. You have to flow.
Right.
And understanding what's for you is for you.
Right.
So I don't look at, me not getting a role as I got rejected or it's a no. I just believe that wasn't for me. Right. So I don't take it personally. I go and I do my work, and there's so many things that I have no control over. So all I'm going to do is, it's a game of golf. I'm not in competition with anybody else. I have to go in and better my score each time I go in.
Right.
So that's a saving grace for me in this business. But there are times, I think throughout my life, I've experienced where you take that trust fall and you trust the universe, and maybe you're at your lowest point and you're just like, I can't, I'm done. And then all of a sudden the skies open up and you're like, what? Because you just, you give it up. Right. And I just recently went through another one of those, which I'll come back to, but
it worked out for you.
It's working out for me,
Right.
So, but it's a marathon, not a sprint, man. It's a journey.
Yes. Okay. So, we have a mutual friend, a couple of them, but I want to talk about the late, great Michael Jacque.
Yes.
So tell us, because I understand that he's like met you and gave you the role for Beauty and the Baller.
Well, he didn't really give me the role.
That's you had the audition, but whatever. You explain how that happened. And and may he rest in peace, because he was
may he rest in peace. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. Yeah. I met him at the Hollywood Black Film Festival, I think it might have been 2011, maybe. I wasn't living in LA yet, but I had films, short films, and I was introduced to him. And then I think we connected on Facebook or what have you. And then I moved out here that following year, 2012. And I think at the end of 2012, an audition came through, and it was for this show at the time called Trophy Wife.
Right.
Initially, that was the very first title of it. And it was his show. And I think when I saw his name, I was kind of like, hey, we met like a year ago, whatever. So I go to the audition, and it was for the role of the best friend in the show, Tina. And, you know, I read and we were sitting there and we were talking and he's like, yeah, you know, you're really good. And, you know, do you mind just like hanging around and reading for me with other people, you know, when they come in, just reading whatever, you know, being the reader basically for anybody else coming in for all these other roles. And I had nothing but time. And I was like, well, yeah, because I'm having fun. I get to practice and, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I stayed around like for maybe a couple hours, you know, and then I read these different roles, read with people. And then I read the role of the main character, Dina. And yeah, it was like, we just had a lot of fun. And I got from that day that, you know, he you know, because he has investors and he's trying to go for like a name, you know, you know, the business, the politics.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
The politics and the politrics.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
You know, it's kind of, I'm gonna hold my tongue on some of that, but you know, they got to get a name, right? So he was just like, man, you know, but you're good. And I really appreciate you, you know, doing that. I was like, okay, you know, whatever. So I leave. And then I can't remember the time frame, but a short time later, he contacted me. And I think it was an inbox on my Facebook and said something about, hey, you know, I have this like idea, or I have to go back and read it because I have it. And he said something about either had a dream or had a thought or something, but can you come over to my place and read some scenes with, you know, some other people? And I was kind of like, okay, you know, whatever. And once again, I don't really know a lot of people out here, so I'm kind of like, okay, you know.
Yeah, okay.
So I went over to his house, and there were maybe like 5 of us reading, and we read through like several of the scripts that he had, like episodes. Like we were just going, it was almost like a nice way for him to kind of go through and see what works and what doesn't, you know.
Right.
So we did like a table read,
Right.
and we were reading everything. And just the short of it is, he decided to take a chance with me for the lead role, which is so crazy because it's not even what I went in for. Wow. And he had investors that pulled their money out, that pulled their support, because he went with myself and another guy, Akeem Smith, that wasn't necessarily a name. I mean, Akeem had credits and been out here, but he said, no, these are the people that are these characters. And he believed wholeheartedly, and he, you know, he was at bat for us. And he said, I want to go with them. And he lost investors by taking that chance, but he went with us anyway.
Wow.
And it was so wild. And we ended up shooting, you know, like 9 episodes within like 3 weeks. It was crazy. Like I've never shot anything like that, but we had so much fun. And, you know, for him to take a chance on somebody who's not a name, and, you know, but he believed in me. He's like, no, I see something in you. I believe in you, you know, and he stood by his word. And even, you know, when he passed, it's been a couple years now, but I will never forget at his service. And I spoke with some of my castmates, and all the stories that people shared. I mean, it was standing room only. It was crazy. Right. But so many people had the same stories about him, how he was a man of his word, how he really believed in people. He fought for people and he stood by people. And it's just, it was so beautiful, you know, and he gave a lot of people opportunities, you know, especially even on Beauty and the Baller, like, you know.
Right. I mean, you know, and I know it waned on him to get that show on the air. And
yeah.
I'm so grateful that he was able to get that show on the air, dealing with the health issues he was having. Yeah. Right before he passed. So that was a blessing for him.
I mean, it was 5 years it took to get it onto a network. And it was
unheard of.
It was unheard of because it was an independently produced project that a network picked up, and that doesn't happen.
Unheard of.
It doesn't happen.
Unheard of.
So, you know, for it to get picked up and for him to be able to witness that. And he always said he would come back periodically, and he would send a message to us all, hey guys, I'm just checking in. I'm just letting you know we have interest from here. We're still pushing it. It's going to be on. I know it's going to be on. And he never wavered on that.
Right.
And it did. It actually 5 years later, but like it made it, you know.
Shout out to his dedication. Shout out, man. Yeah. So okay, so now we got that. You're doing a lot of television network or feature film now.
So since I've been in LA, I've done a lot more of television. I started out doing more film, like short films and stuff like that in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I honestly, like, this business is kind of funny. It can kind of like put you into like either TV or film. Like I'm not saying people, you can't do both, but you kind of tends to like group you, right? And so TV is great. You know, TV is where you can work more frequently, right? You get more opportunities. And if you land a show, that's great. But honestly, like I miss film, you know, because I haven't done film in a while, and it's a different medium and it's a different expression and it's different things because TV's so formulaic. You know, you gotta go, you gotta get in, get out. Film, you can let stuff breathe, you know, and you can be in it, and it's just I miss it. So I've been telling my managers, I'm like, I want to do film again. Like I miss, you know, I want to get back there. Like that's, you know, I want to be able to have both.
Right.
But also, you know, once again, I mean, I can try to get auditions for it, but I can also create it myself. So that's why I'm like, I need to
Right.
get back to the drawing board, and
Right.
I want to be in film. Let's make it.
So what's an ideal role for you? What would you like if you had your, you know, your selection and you could do the ideal role? What would be the ideal role for you?
You know what? I'm such a gray area person. I don't have an ideal role. I like variety.
Okay.
I like doing different characters. I don't want to be pigeonholed.
Okay.
So, you know, I am very fortunate to have a catalog of work that there are a lot of different types of characters.
Right.
And I feel really lucky with that.
You're an actor's actor.
I like to get in the character. You know, I don't want to always look the same or talk the same or have my inflection or my rhythm or my, you know, tone the same. If this person is a federal prosecutor, she's going to speak a lot more, you know, with all due respect, Your Honor, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Whereas that small town sheriff from Florida might have a little twang and might be a little more friendly, you know, like I want people to see the character, you know. Right. I mean, I'm not Meryl, like I'm far from Meryl, but right. I want people can walk away and say, I believe that character. I saw that character, and they don't realize, oh, that was you. Then I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I want. You know,
that's a great answer because that's an actor's answer. You're an actor. You're not like, I want to be a movie star.
No, it's not fame and fortune. You know, I want to make enough money to live. Like I need enough money to pay my bills.
I told somebody, I said, I just want to be famous at the bank. So when I walk in the bank, they said, Mr. Muhammad, right this way.
Right, you've been working. Come on.
You know, come right this way. All right.
I just want to, you know, I like variety. So, you know, I like the challenge of doing different types of roles, but I think it would definitely be fun to be in a fantasy type film, or like, you know, I like period pieces. And I've been lucky, I've done a couple period pieces, but like I watch stuff like, you know, let's just say Harry Potter and, you know, like that kind of
Lord of the Rings.
Fun. Yeah, like that, like being some fun little, you know, like, or like like that stuff would be fun, you know. So maybe one day, you know, we'll get up there, but yeah. But I just like the variety, so it's fun to have different.
Okay, so before I let you go, I want to ask you, what is your advice for young actresses or actors, period, wanting to get into the business? What would you suggest?
First of all, don't be scared to take a chance, because, you know, nothing beats a failure but a try. So you won't know unless you try, right? Get out there. I mean, do what you can. I mean, learn as much as you can. Classes obviously are really, really important, but they can be expensive, and it's hard because we're starving artists. You know, we put out a lot more money than we bring in, most of us.
Right.
So if you can get into class, get into class. If you can't get into class, you know, try to watch as much as you can and study that way. You know, study yourself and study other people, because what we're performing is human behavior. So our best teachers are ourselves or somebody else. So you can watch people and you can tell how they're feeling by watching them. You can see how they interact with each other. You can see, you know, if I'm cold, if I'm more like this. If I'm hot, I'm a little more open. You know, there's so many different things, and paying attention to how we do everyday things. That's what we have to bring to the set, right? You have to live it. It's just real life stuff, you know, and you bring it there. So that's still a great teaching tool if you don't have the money to be in class. But, you know, just get out there. And also, you know, my early mentors were like, if you're waiting, you need to be creating. So, you know, if there's something that you want to do or a certain role you want to portray, create it yourself, you know, and get out there and write it, you know. And that's how I became a filmmaker. I never planned on being a filmmaker. And I wrote a short film in 2 days, and just because I had pressure to write something, and I wrote it, and we ended up shooting it, and it did 10 plus festivals across the country and in Montreal, and it was on TV, and it was like, wow, okay, you know.
Where can we see this film you talking?
You know what? I need to get it online, because it had never been released. It came out in like 2011, 12-ish.
Oh yeah.
And I need to upload it. I'm gonna do that. That's one of my goals.
Oh, to send it to me. I would love to look at it. because that's like my background too. I in Ohio, I shot a movie, sold out the trunk of my car, and made $2,000 off a $6 movie.
Wow.
And I told myself, I am a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And here I am doing film stuff. So now I got a feature streaming on Amazon Prime, and I got a couple of different projects, you know, in development right now. We are on hiatus with this
right.
But yeah, so you know, I salute you and the grind, because you are grinding. You are a true guerrilla film grinder. Coming on Derrick Muhammad Show.
Thank you. Can I leave with one thing, Derrick?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Not to take it over.
No.
I just want to, once again, I said earlier that, you know, times in your life can be like you've been at low points and all of a sudden things open up. This business is not easy, and it can chew you up and spit you out. And once again, I think it's, you know, what's for you is for you. So for me, my saving grace is that mindset. And sometimes you have to recondition your mindset, because it is hard. It is hard when you feel like you're putting in all this work and nothing is happening, or you're not booking, or you see everybody around you booking and you're like, why? You know, because that's your peers and that's what you're going to see. But comparison is the thief of joy, which is true, right? But know that you have to have endurance in this business. And for me, I've been really fortunate to have a lot of success in a small amount of time. You know, I've only been doing this about 11-ish years now. And I've had a wonderful experience. I've had great roles. I've gotten to great rooms. I've almost had series, you know, like big series. I've tested, which to me is a big victory. But I've also had slow years. And so these last 2 years for me have been really slow. I didn't work that much, like hardly at all, like maybe a couple things, you know, and financially that's hard, you know, because you got to live. And I tested for something. I was pinned for several really big recurring roles. So I was still putting in the work, but it wasn't for me. Right. But it's hard, and you're human. And even though I'm an optimist and I'm like, it's all good, it all works out, you're still human, and you can have your little down moments where you're woe is me. So, you know, when I have those moments, I'm kind of like, okay, well, let me just have my little pity party and then shake it off and then keep it moving. Right. But I also got to a point in my life that I said, you know, what am I supposed to be learning in this quiet time? What am I supposed to be seeing and learning, you know, and doing at this time, right? For some reason, for 2 years, I haven't hardly worked. You know, maybe that's time to get back to my writing or focus on directing. Maybe my acting is done for a while, or maybe it's done. Maybe, you know, it served its purpose, right? And my path is changing. So I got to a place where just this last November that I had made a decision to step back from acting for a while. I actually told my agents, I told my managers that I wasn't having fun anymore. And if I'm not good in here, then I'm not going to be good, you know, for the craft. And so I made that decision to step away. And that didn't mean I was quitting, but for a while I had to move away. And I had full support from my team, which is really, really, I'm so grateful for that. And they, you know, were like, well, we don't think you should quit. And we love you, and go. And I'm like, I'm cutting my hair, because I just cut my hair actually too. It's kind of short. And they were like, go cut your hair and do whatever you're gonna do. I create a workshop for actors I'm getting ready to launch. Like, go do that and go write, and you know, we'll just focus on big things. And if you want to pass, you can pass, no questions asked. And I'm like, okay, you know. So that was November, and then December came along, and an audition came in for a recurring role. And the only reason I went in on it was because I love the casting directors, and I hadn't seen them in like 3 years. Okay. So they actually cast me in Code Black a few years ago. That was probably one of my, it was a really big role. It was probably one of my most heartfelt roles, because it was a really intense storyline. It was really emotional. It was one of the main storylines, and it was something you could like sink your teeth into. So, you know, they gave me that opportunity, but they've always been great. So I went in for them, and the only reason was because of them. And I was like, I'm going in, whatever, because I'm on break. And I went in, had the audition. The next week had the callback, and found out a month later that I booked it. And now, well, I was working on my biggest role yet. Wow. When the pandemic hit. So I was technically on break, right? I'd stepped away. Right. I was like, no, I haven't had anything 2 years. I'm out for a while. Right. And then all of a sudden I get this recurring role, almost darn near a series reg, because I'm in a lot of the episodes of the show. Right. And and it took me to New Orleans, you know.
Good for you.
It's crazy how that works. Yeah. So I just share that because I think that, you know, my fellow artists need to understand that. Like, but you always hear about people saying, oh, I'm gonna quit or I'm done. And then all of a sudden something happened, right? Like you can't purposely say, oh, I'm quit just to hope that something opens up. Like I was at peace with my decision.
Right.
I was fine. Because you know what, for me, like I said, I have other gifts. I have other talents. My writing excites me. The potential of directing excites me.
Right.
Helping, I coach, you know, people here and that. I need to probably advertise that more, but you know, I love helping people with their auditions or just their acting. I create a workshop for actors. I enjoy those things.
Right.
So acting for me is not my end all be all. I still stand by my work.
Yes.
I can't control who they bring in the room, and I can't control if they give me the job.
Yes.
So I was at peace. I was seriously at peace. I'm good. I'm taking a break. I'm out. And the universe is like, hold on. No, you're not. Here's a brand new show, and you're going to be in like 10 of the 11 episodes. So you're like, what?
That's dope.
So it's just kind of funny how that works, you know,
yes.
but you just have to keep pushing, you know, but you have to flow. That once again, flow. So,
you know, me being an independent filmmaker, I know that I got tired when I was auditioning, and I told myself I wasn't going to audition no more. And as soon as I auditioned, I ended up getting booked for 2 roles too. I understand what you're saying there.
That was when you say F it, you're like, F it, I'm out.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm just going to write my own and I'll book myself, you know. But I understand what you're saying, and what's for you is for you. And I thank you for coming on the show.
No, thank you for having
me. It was great. You were great. We got to bring you back.
Yeah, whenever.
Yeah, and it was truly epic. So give us where they can follow you on social media.
Okay, because I need to do better about that.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram, I guess, and Twitter, even though I don't tweet very often. But my handle is simply _Diandra. That's Diandra. So you can find me on Instagram through that and for Twitter. And then I'm on Facebook. You know, there's just, if you search my name, you'll find me there. So.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on Derrick Muhammad Show, Diandra.
Thank you.
We wish you nothing but continued success. You hang in there, you keep swinging, and you go out fighting, okay? All right. Until next time, thank you all for tuning in on Muhammad on Derrick Muhammad Show, y'all.
The Derrick Muhammad Show.
So you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop this. Okay.
That's fine. Yeah, because we can keep talking.
Yeah. Let me pause this.